Well, hey guys, we're back down toward, well, I guess you could call it Central Mississippi today. We're going to tell you another story. Well, it's not a folk tale because it's very real. The lady we're going to introduce you to today was discovered back in 1969. And she pops up on the internet from time to time. So today, we're going to introduce you to the Lady in Red. See, out near the Tallahatchie River on a place called Egypt Plantation, which was a large cotton plantation, a backhoe service had been hired to dig a septic tank system. A guy named Willie was operating the backhoe, digging in a lady's flower bed to make room for the septic system. All of a sudden, he struck metal. Willie had hit the corner of what it turns out was a metal casket, breaking it off. The operator didn't know what he had hit and was worried that he had hit a water or maybe even a sewer pipe. So he jumped down off the backhoe to check it out. He noticed some glass and, well, he wiped off the glass and peered inside. And there he found a perfectly preserved lady. Willie jumped out of the hole and ran off, and he would not go back to work. The glass inside of the top of the casket was not covered with the typical protective plate, and the lady inside was covered in alcohol, and she was so well preserved she looked like she had just recently passed away. Air kept getting into the newly unsealed casket through the broken corner, and well, she gradually started changing colors. She was dressed in a red velvet dress, gloves, and white leather and silk boots. So some of the locals decided she may have been an entertainer that traveled on one of the many riverboats that ran up the Tallahatchie from New Orleans. She was awful young looking, so they decided that maybe she died from something like cholera. But the big question is, why in the world did they bury her where she was? There were no other old graves or grave markers in the area where she was dug up. And historical records showed there had never been a settlement or a town in this particular location. She was buried in an old plantation location, but there should have been some grave marking objects or grave markers somewhere close by. She was probably from around the 1850s, and so, well, a lot of money would have been spent on her clothing, her casket, and her preservation. Willie would say he was digging a hole, and there all of a sudden appeared a perfectly preserved woman. And I've always been incredibly intrigued by her story, and well, feel a little bit sorry for her. If you come into Lexington's Oddfellows Cemetery and make your way over to the left until you see this metal storage building sitting along the fence. And you can look to the right up the fence line and you can make your way to the grave of the Lady in Red. She was interred in a Fisk metallic burial case with a glass-lined top originally, but now I don't know if they left her in that when they reburied her or not. Her identity is unknown, and well, the reason she was buried in a shallow, unmarked grave on the plantation is, well, just up for speculation. The clothing she was dressed in, a red velvet cape, a red velvet dress, and buckled shoes, indicated that she would have died somewhere in the mid-1800s. One article I read estimated her year of birth as 1835, and her grave marker gives her death year as 1969, the year they dug her up. One of the cemetery workers who saw her before she was reburied described her as being real pretty, with kind of black-looking long hair. The story is kind of sad for me because here she lies in Lexington's Oddfellows Cemetery and no one even knows her name, or how she even got to Egypt Plantation in the first place. Nonetheless, if you're ever in and around Lexington, Mississippi, I hope you'll consider stopping by and paying respects to the Lady in Red. Thank you.